All right, we're back here on SportsLine. Steve Lehman with you here tonight, along with Vanderbilt Vice Chancellor and Athletic Director David Williams. David, we were talking before the break about all the money and how to make sure that the student athletes have the best possible experience. And you talked about several things, the trips and the extra services on campus and things that you have done for players throughout your time there at Vanderbilt, and there's no question about it. I look around college athletics and I see things like Clemson building a football facility where they have a slide to go from one floor to another in the meeting rooms, and a miniature golf course, and Alabama's got a waterfall in the locker room, and there's barber shops and smoothie stations and all those sort of things. At Vanderbilt, I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a friction of the sort of the old school, this is an academic institution, and yet trying to move into the 21st century to make sure your athletes have all the things to compete. Where has that gone in your tenure as athletic director, do you think?
I think that, you know, there's an arms race, and I think that we started and we continued under the path of what we need to do is the things that are necessary to take care of the kids and give them the opportunity to be the best that they can be, and not worry about all of the fringes. And so I've seen the waterfall. I've seen the slide. I've seen all of those things. I've seen.
Where do you fall on necessary in like smoothie station and barbershop and waterfall and miniature golf course?
If you want a Smoothie King, we actually have a Smoothie King's store right across the street of the campus.
That's right.
We actually have one in the rec center. We don't need one in the locker room. We can provide the sort of smoothies that you'll need for nourishment. A miniature golf thing, no, I don't think so. Now, I mean, I don't know what happens in the future, but we don't chase other places. We don't chase them. We basically are going to put in place what we think is necessary and needed, and first and foremost, what is important for the benefit of our student athletes.
So that brings me to my next question, because it's been talked about a lot lately. Chancellor Zeppos, in his sort of dealings with the media and other people on possible stadium renovations or plans for that moving forward, and he hasn't been very forthcoming on what he thinks or addressing the issue. Where do you stand, or what would you like to see from a Vanderbilt perspective moving forward on what to do with the football stadium as it stands?
Well, I think that the thing you have to understand is, I think a lot of people want to focus on the football stadium and not focus in on what are the other needs that we have or had. And so when I sat down, I had to look at what are the needs that we have, and let's maybe put them on a list, okay? And what was the stadium on that list? Absolutely. Was it at the top of the list? Absolutely not. And then you just have to go through. And you know, it's funny because almost nobody that calls for the stadium recognize that we probably had the worst training room in the SEC. Now, between a training room and a stadium, which one is more important to the student athlete? The training room. And the fact of the matter is that we have always operated from a situation. When I came into running the athletic department, one of the things that hampered us from doing things was a lot of debt. And a lot of that debt was, in the past, we had done some things based on pledges that weren't met. And that turns into debt. So we had to work ourselves to get out of debt. And what I've always said is, I'm not going to build something on debt that will hamper the next person. So we've always taken the position, whatever we're going to do, we're going to go raise the money. And so yes, it slows down the process of doing things, and each facility renovation or new one in its own time. I do believe at some point in time the university will get to that. I know Chancellor Zeppos well. I know how he feels about it. He's not avoiding the issue. He understands exactly what we're doing and has been supportive of it. But you know, I would say, you know, if people are concerned that we didn't do more to the stadium, that's on me. That's clearly on me, because the fact of the matter is, I thought there were more important things to do. we did a big project at the golf course. Now go ask my 2 golf coaches what basically propelled their recruiting more than anything. It was what we did at the golf course. We basically built an indoor facility that was a lot of money and actually put an indoor track in it. Well, that helped 3 or 4 programs, and it helped the whole student body and the staff and faculty of the university. Our bowling team won a national championship, and guess where they practiced? In Smyrna. They had to drive every day, so we put a bowling alley in there. Those things were more important. Not that the stadium is not important, but they were more important, and I just wasn't going to debt this department up.
How do you balance, because sometimes you hear it the other way, where people say football, 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 and they may overlook a bowling project or a golf project in order to have the latest, best, greatest thing in football. You clearly did not in that regard. How do you balance that decision?
Well, I think you have to look at, like I said, what's the most important needs that you have and what's there for. And, you know, I would say, and I think I'm right on this, Vanderbilt has been to 8 bowl games, and we went to 5 of them in the last number of years. So it seems as if we still did okay in football. And I don't think a football stadium is going to make our kids play any better. I do think having a good weight room, I do think having a good training room, I do think being able to allow those things help them be better. So now when there's bad weather, they have a place to go in and practice. I think those are important things. And I do think there's a right time to get to that, and I'm sure that time will come, but I just felt there were more important things. You know, we didn't have much to play baseball on. And then, you know, we made it to the regionals, and we had to go out and put bleachers up. Wait a minute, now we can do better than that. And so in its time, the stadium will get, it will get its due. I'm confident that people will look at it. I apologize if people think that that should have been first. You know, that's one of the things of wearing the hat. And so that decision's on me. I thought these other things were more important at that time, and so we went after them, and I'm real proud of the things we got done.
Where would you rank the need for football stadium renovation or new stadium on the list now? You don't have to tell me the other things, but is it number 1? Is it 5? Where does it fall right now?
I would say to you that my number 1 thought would be we need to do some renovations. And of course, when you say number 1, is how expansive can that be? But if you were to basically say, okay, there's limited dollars or some dollars, what should be the first thing you get after? I would say Memorial. I think that Memorial is that classic, great place that needs some work around it. I would say the stadium is near behind that. Now, I don't know what that means about the stadium, but I do think that, yes, we have to do some things to the stadium, but I'm not sure what that should be. I guess the best way to say that will be someone else's challenge.
The last question in this break, and then we'll move on. How much or how extensive were the talks about possibly moving football into a joint project with the soccer team at the fairgrounds?
Yeah, we went through a lot of talks with that. We talked about the possibilities of it, what it would look like. Could that be done? We had talks with MLS and what they had in mind. We tried to figure out, is that the right thing to do, to move from campus, even if everything else worked out. It was pretty extensive. Pretty extensive.
David Williams, our guest tonight here on SportsLine. We'll take a break. When we come back, I will ask him what he's most proud of from his tenure at Vanderbilt. We'll get to that after this.